Okay, so one of the big mistakes that I've made as a brand new farmer is how I feed, where I get my feed. You're gonna have to excuse the mess in here, it's always a mess. But one of the things that I'm learning about is the barley fodder system. I don't intend for this video to be a how-to because there's lots of people that know a whole lot more about it than I do. Excuse me here, I'll just go into my grow tent here. Somebody gave me this, a home box tent. I used it to grow seeds in last year, starts. And anyway, so I'm not an expert in anything I do, nothing. Now, I'm not an expert farmer, I'm not an expert builder, I'm not an expert nothing. But I'm curious if I can make my pigs, chickens, and maybe even cows happier with barley fodder. So what I've done is I've set this grow tent up, and I'm gonna put in 2 rows here of these fluorescent grow lights and these trays, of which I'm going to raise at one end slightly for drainage. I know that mold is probably my biggest issue here. It's something I'm just going to have to play with and try to learn how to combat. And see if I can't use some of this ton of whole barley from Delta Junction, which even though it's 10 hours away from here, is still considered a local grain in Alaska, and start fermenting it, sorry, not fermenting it, foddering it, and getting more feed value out of it. Because if I don't find a way to reduce my feed costs, I'm not ever going to be profitable. I can't go down to the feed store, pay retail, and then be paying for freight and selling beef and pork at wholesale and paying for freight there. I know that's what most farmers do, is pay retail, sell wholesale, and pay freight both ways. But I don't intend to go broke doing this. So I got to reduce my feed costs, and this fodder system is something I'm going to try. If you're interested in it, there's lots of great videos on YouTube and people that know a whole hell of a lot more than I do, since I've never done it before. I'm just really trying to show the things I'm trying to do to reduce feed costs as a brand new farmer and be more efficient. The other thing that I'm going to start doing is fermenting my grain. If you look in here, that is crushed barley, which I have water over. In fact, I think it needs a little bit more water on top so it doesn't mold. But I don't know if I can add some 16% pig feed and some cob to that and have it ferment. I've never done it before. I don't know. One of the big issues in the wintertime is dehydration. Even though there's snow on the ground, hogs drink a lot of water. And usually I have an automatic waterer for them. And I can't have that in the winter because it's so friggin' freezing here. This is ridiculous, like 17 below tonight or something. So trying to give them water that stays free of contaminants, because the chickens want it too, and there's chicken shit all over the place in the barn there, and it's just a nightmare. So I'm going to try to give them some more of the water through their feed. And one of the ways to do this is to ferment these buckets. And so I'm going to try fermenting this, and if it starts to bubble and boil over the next couple days, I'm going to set up a system of 3 buckets. Just put it in there, cover it with water, let it sit for a couple days, and now on the 3rd day feed it out. Is it going to work? I don't know. But I think that wet feeding versus dry feeding hogs is probably far superior, one of the things I'm learning. And of course, I'm going to try the fodder system, and I'm going to try some silage next year if I can get some money to do that. I'm going to start feeding the cows potatoes and other things so that it's not such a expensive nightmare, because I put hundreds of dollars of grain into my fish tote here, and it doesn't last very long. I'm graining extra right now because it's so unbelievably cold out that I want to give my cattle extra calories and extra protein and make sure they're getting a well-balanced diet. So I'm doing all that today, and I'm going to set up a few other things. But in terms of the cattle here and the feeding of the pigs and the cattle, those are going to be the 2 things I'm going to try, which is fodder and fermenting and feeding wet grain. If you're interested in either of those things, you should learn about it. As a new farmer, I think it's going to make a big difference to my ability to make a profit. There's lots of great information out there. All right, thanks.